Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. We have a great guest for you today, Rich Swerbinsky, founder of Onward and Upward Consulting. Rich has been around the industry for a while, a bunch of different roles. Excited to talk to you about that, what you're seeing now in the industry, Rich. So thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the conversation.
So I have to give you some credit. Our prep team said that you were pretty much the easiest person to get questions for because you had your bio listed very succinctly on LinkedIn. So wanted to extend a thank you from them for that. So made it a lot easier to put these together. So appreciate that. So, sounds like you've had a big journey like a lot of folks in this industry. You mentioned in your bio going from Outback Steakhouse to a bunch of mortgage company roles to Mortgage Collaborative, where I first crossed paths with you, to now running your own consulting company. What got you in the industry and what's kept you in the industry?
Like most people, I got in accidentally. I was in the restaurant business pursuing, management with Outback Steakhouse, and just, one day got sick of all my buddies having fun on the weekends and me working nights and holidays. And I took a job at my buddy's credit union just as like a consumer loan guy. And long story short, kind of fell backwards into a entry-level role in secondary marketing, which I immediately loved. As far as what's kept me in so long, well, the more you can't leave the mortgage industry, right? It's like the mafia. The only way out is death. So, but if I wanted, not that I would want to leave. I've been lucky, honestly, to be aligned with great companies. This industry can beat you up. It can be great. It can be horrible. It's always changing. But if you work for great companies and genuinely love your role in the industry, I've been lucky to have that. I worked for some community banks that had incredible culture and mission. Mortgage Collaborative was an incredibly rewarding job. And what I do now is very personally rewarding for me. It's ultimately kind of why I did it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Well, hey, you can always move to Italy, I guess, to get out of the business. I was actually watching Godfather with my father-in-law this weekend, so it's a timely metaphor, and I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. One of the things I like is there's always a reference point. You can talk about housing with literally anyone because what's happening in the market is influencing it. What's happening with lumber prices? What's happening with interest rates, housing supply, literally everything. And at the end of the day, everyone needs a place to live. So it's a very accessible, and it's something that is omnipresent for everyone. That being said, I know a lot of folks are speculating about the industry now. What's going to happen? And what's your take? What have you seen? A month into 2024, how are you feeling about the industry at large right now?
A year ago, everybody was preaching, I think, foul optimism, and I wasn't. I mean, I knew it was going to be some months to kind of get us through, all the transactions that happened 2021, even beginning part of 22. But now I'm starting to see genuine kind of green shoots, for lack of a better word. Smart people I think are very smart that, are starting to reinvest into the industry and people and things that can help them grow market share. There's smart people talking about starting mortgage companies from scratch. The things that you typically see happen before the market rebounds. So I've seen some genuine kind of shoots of optimism. I don't think the consolidation is over yet. There's a lot of independent mortgage banks that, are still treading water, which gets old. If you're losing money, that gets really old every month. But even if you're not making money, anybody's owned a business, easy to say, oh yeah, just tread water. Like, you want to make money with the business, all the time, blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. So I do think we're seeing the tail end of, basically 2 years of consolidation, but it's not over yet. And it's still happening.
No, it definitely feels. Sorry, go ahead.
No, this is the last thing. That said, I am optimistic about this year, more optimistic than, the economist projections. just because there's such a huge underlying demand of people that want to buy houses in America, from the first time home buyers that aspire and because of affordability or inventory can or won't right now. The people living in their parents' basements that could do something, don't have to. And then all the people that are looking to step up or step down their property that just aren't quite ready to leave 2.5% yet for 7. But time changes that, and as does obviously the interest rate climate. So I do think it's going to be a good year for the industry.
Mhm. And that kind of seemed to be, I like what you said about false optimism, and now to me it almost feels like there's false pessimism, right? Like I know finishing the year, being at MBA annual, I saw one industry publication call it a funeral atmosphere, right? People were saying, stay alive till 2025, and that's different from what you're saying. I think it's different from what we're seeing as well. I don't think things are going to rapidly improve, but I think, like you said, we're going to see those little green shoots midway through the year, hopefully later in the year, and kind of some improvement that way. And
Yep, I would agree. I'm right with you on that. Yep.
and what are the things that you're seeing kind of those smart people do? Like how do folks take advantage of these types of markets in a way where others don't and hunker down?
Well, it's to me like the smart people were starting to cut staff or in strategic ways, like at the beginning of 22. And then on the flip side, I think those same leaders and companies are starting to reinvest in their companies now before it's a no-brainer to do it. I mean, anytime you're doing anything when it's conventional wisdom, it's too late, typically, in my experience. Varying degrees to that. But, you know, I, I remember 2020 was incredible. 21 was not expected to be as incredible. It was even more incredible. Then we get into 22, and the beginning of the year is still pretty okay, but there's just clear signs of like which way this thing is going. And, a lot of people waited too long to act. And I would say those companies were very negatively affected by that. At the same time, companies that were quicker to act, they're in a strong competitive position now. And those are the type of companies right now I'm seeing that are starting to play a little offense, starting to throw the ball
Do you
downfield.
feel like there's a middle ground there? One thing that is frustrated me growing up in this industry and being around it is it also often feels like it's feast or famine, right? Your buyers or your sellers. Your things are going great. You're hiring or you're firing. Let's hire up in the good markets, fire down in the bad markets, and you know be damned with everything else, right? So where is that middle ground where you're not really, you know, having that huge oscillation dependent on the market, if it even exists?
Well, I think you have to make good decisions on the tech, the platforms you're using, obviously. I mean, I think we all agree that tech has not at all dehumanized the mortgage industry to the extent that we thought it would. We saw that during the pandemic. People are just hiring and firing like drunken sailors. That said, obviously, that's the purpose of the software. So I think companies that have made good decisions on tech, and a good decision on tech can be not buying all the latest big box, big platform bell and whistle system is a good decision in a lot of cases. Um, so eventually volume is going to pick up. And I think that, the smartest lenders are figuring out now how to do that. If that is with a more flexible human staff, if it's, complementing tech and, maybe outsourcing of some functions with a little human touch in spots where it makes sense. But I just think that it is really, you can't go through this. I mean, we saw the extremes of it during the pandemic, just the people heavy nature of the industry and how it negatively impacts companies. So right now, there's several different ways to do it, but I think you have to be very strategic on your labor expenses right now as a mortgage lender.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think it's tough because you have to figure out what do you want people doing. What is the best use of a loan officer, of a processor, right? Like what can they only do, and where does it make sense to leverage technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I have people doing different things too. I mean, if it's processors that can close, if it's loan originators that, things that they would bitch about maybe, but that it makes more sense from an efficiency standpoint for tasks for them to perform, even if they're not thrilled with it. Little things like that. I just, to me, the smartest and most efficient companies, efficiency is to them it's a journey and not a destination. I think they're always trying to figure out ways to maximize their use of labor as it relates to getting loans through the pipeline, and there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah. And one thing you talk about efficiency, and now, in your consulting role, you probably deal with, consulting technology companies or companies on technology a lot. And one thing I've heard differing opinions on is, how do you drive that efficiency for something, right? If you're able to cut out 5%, 10% of the time it takes to process a loan, or, half an hour for one loan for one person, is that really going to add up at the end of the day? Like, what is a person going to do with 15, with 20 extra minutes, right? Like, at what point is there actually, I've heard people say, unless you're replacing 50% of a task, don't automate it, right? So where do you fall on kind of how do you leverage that kind of people efficiency and those gains, I guess?
Well, I mean, for forever in the mortgage industry, like the things that mortgage lenders have underwriters making $100,000 a year do is mind-boggling to me. You can get them done for like 12,000 a year outsourced, the equivalent of a full-time employee for $12,000 a year, 18,000. It depends what you're doing and who you're using. So that's, I think, one obvious example. Like, to me, an underwriter should be looking at just completely finished files for a rubber stamp, and that is it. There is no reason whatsoever that they should be doing anything else if you indeed are paying them what the market has yielded for underwriters recently. So, I think that's one obvious example, but I think all your operational staff and employees, the days of like, you are a processor, you are a closer, you are an underwriter, you are a quality control professional. Um, I just think that's tough. That is tough with this business, with how it's cyclic, unless you want to constantly hire and fire people.
Right. Well, we had a new employee to start today, and I basically said, "Hey, we hired you. We draft for talent here. We don't draft for position. So, this is what you're hired to do. We're gonna see, right? I want you to learn. I want you to soak things up, and we're gonna find your place."
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely the right approach. And another thing that I always did when I was a mortgage lender, bring lower level employees in that you love, right? I mean, hire the person, train the skill is, the obvious quote that a lot of people use, but it is so true in this industry. Like, um, every company that I've built them with entry level employees that I felt had potential and passion. And, we're kind of diamonds in the rough. You have to interview more people to do that. But LinkedIn, the power of that platform, every company, every hire, it's been 100% sourcing candidates for me through LinkedIn. And I've always been willing to interview 20 to get one, as opposed to three. And I just think it's worth the extra time investment. And I've always also subscribed to exactly what you just said. Like, hey, we hire draft picks. I used to always joke with the staff at the Mortgage Collaborative, like, I actually made the other tasks, as it was as a sign, but it was a nicer phrasing of that.
I have that on every job description I post.
It was in a slightly bigger font than all the other job tasks in the job description, because, like, I wanted people to know, like, listen, you're coming on as the marketing coordinator for TMC. I want you to know everything about our lender members. And we were able, and then when you have somebody leave or you have to make adjustments to your staff, it's so much easier. You don't, so.
We've definitely learned that the hard way too. Of like, any position that opens, look at your team first, right before just hiring for that. The thing I wonder though is that takes more time. That approach, right? In my opinion, there's a training cost, there's a training time. I think there's merits for it, but everyone thinks like, hey, we have a plug and play solution. Let's get this person with industry experience, or let's get this person who does this, right? And it may not always be a cultural fit. It may not, the ability for someone to unlearn can be an issue sometimes.
It can. Yeah, no, you're right. It does take a lot more time to hire and to build a company that way. There's no question about it. I would argue, and you have to have great company culture too, in my opinion, to get lower level employees that are making less than other people you could hire to care as much and perform as well as those people. Like it does require great company culture. It requires more assets and time in onboarding for sure. But my experience has been that it is a net winner every time.
Yep. And in consulting now too, mentioning company culture, what is good culture versus bad culture? Like, how are you able to ascertain that in working with a company? What are your thoughts on how to create, a quote unquote good culture?
Leadership. You can't have good culture with shitty leadership, and and you can't really have bad culture with amazing leadership. That's over simplifying things a little bit, but who is running the company? Who is communicating with the customers and the employees? And do they have the characteristics that are important for leaders to have? Empathy, uh, work ethic, um, morals, the ability to communicate. Some of the characteristics that, at least in my experience, the best leaders have had: over communicating, right? Gifted communicators that tend to over communicate, like when in doubt, communicate. And it, I think that it all starts there. I mean, if you have great leadership, then it works its way through an organization. And you also have to surround yourself with the right people, because as any company grows, if you have one or two or three people that are the face of the company and the leadership, company grows. All the cycles of mortgage lending, I've seen this happen a million times, right? The mortgage lender goes from 100 employees to 150 during a very busy year. It changes the dynamics of things. Somebody that you have now hired or promoted, that you are counting on to lead a group of 30 salespeople or operations professionals, maybe they don't espouse the same leadership characteristics and company culture kind of shepherding that the original leaders did. So I think it's great leaders that surround themselves with the right people, um, and that they know what they don't know. Knowledge is power. Leaders that are on the constant quest to acquire knowledge, experience, information. There's probably another characteristic I left out initially that to me has just portended success.
Yeah. I saw one of my favorite quotes is culture is the feeling in your employees' stomachs on Sunday evening.
So true. So true. We used to talk about that at the Mortgage Collaborative. I used to say to the staff, if you ever are anxious about our Monday morning team call on a Sunday night, like just text me individually. I want to understand why, because I had that feeling for many years. It's a bad feeling. People shouldn't have that feeling. You have to do what you have to do professionally to feed your family and take care of things. But even within that, I really feel like people shouldn't have that Sunday night pit in the stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you talk about, a lot of the things you talk about with good leadership is it's not related to pedigree. It's not related to intelligence. Like I started a series online it's called How Not to Manage Like an Asshole, right? Because I feel like there's so many bad managers. And like, this is common sense. Like, this is common sense stuff, right? Of just like caring about people, respecting their time off, over communicating, talking to them beyond work. So I really like that answer because it just shows like, know that you don't know anything. Like anyone can do this regardless of degrees of intelligence. Like, it's a lot more of the type of person you are and the effort you put into those things opposed to, wanting to be the smartest person in the room.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
And I remember I was years ago. I was trying to I was job hunting, and I had two interviews. I think same day or back to back days. One was this person. He had like suit and tie, really polished, button up. Nice window building somewhere in Midtown Manhattan. He had his Mensa card membership, kind of like slapped on the office. Um, there I interviewed with him, went fine. Then I went to the next interview. It was 2 floors down. So underground in Manhattan. Manager walks in, unkept beard, like green shaggy sweater, purple pants, looks like had like the biggest Dunkin' Donuts coffee I've ever seen. Looks like he hadn't slept in 5 days. Um, and I got the interview, and then I thought about the two after, and I was like, who do I actually want to work with at the end of the day? And quite frankly, I think the second guy was probably smarter than the first. I did choose to work in the basement. Best manager I've ever had. And Chris, best manager I've ever had, right? Because he's not pretentious. We got along great. He was there when I needed him. Gave me, the kind of slack leash I needed in terms of doing my own thing and being independent. So yeah, it's just like what do I want to see portrayed, and like who do I want to work with on a day-to-day basis? So.
Love it.
Yeah. So wrapping up here, I know one thing you've been working on lately and talk a lot about is Cardboard Jungle. So one of eBay's most highly ranked sellers of sports cards. Is there a specific card you're the proudest of selling or buying, or kind of that holy grail card for you?
We haven't pulled like a holy grail card yet on our live streams, but we pulled one recently that had kind of special meaning. Good friend of mine that, definitely could have used a few $1,000 at the time, a couple months ago, buys one $20 spot into one of our football card breaks and pulled a $5,000 Tua Tagovailoa gold autographed rookie card numbered like 1 of 10 that he was able to get professionally graded and sell within a couple of weeks for like 5 Gs. So it was pretty cool because it was my best friend since 3rd grade. He had been buying into a lot of our live stream breaks without a lot of success. We were kind of to the point we were lamenting it on the live streams, kind of chronicling his slump. And he hit a big one, and it was really fun. So
Questing over, or a card that you're trying to get your hands on?
oh my God, yeah! Right now, there's a new basketball product that just came out called Bowman Chrome University Basketball, and LeBron James has had a deal with Upper Deck for over a decade, where he's had autograph exclusivity. Essentially, LeBron James hasn't signed anything for like 10 years.
Smart.
But now he has a card in this new hoop product. It's him and his son, Bronny, who's at USC. It's a dual card with both of their autographs, and it's a 1 of 1. So there is speculation this could be like $1 million card when it comes out of the pack. So we have a Wednesday night. We're breaking this product at thecardboardjungle.com. So hopefully it'll come out of the box Wednesday night from one of our break customers.
It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory stuff. Like, just get that golden ticket.
That's what sports card collecting has, in a lot of ways, emerged into. Whatever the product is, there is that 1 of 1 autograph card in it. Shohei Ohtani or LeBron or CJ Stroud, whoever the hell it is that people are kind of chasing after. And then somebody pulls it. And of course, it's a big deal on social media. And so hopefully we pull one of those cards, because we would like 10x all our social media viewers like overnight.
Well, there you go.
I said we'll need it. There's only one card in the world that exists with that Brownie Brown auto.
Hey, you miss all the shots you don't take. That's the quote that I have behind me here. So, question: we ask everyone this: what is your lodestar? What is what gets you up in the morning, excited to do consulting, to do Cardboard Jungle, to keep being in this crazy industry? What's your motivation?
It's just, right now, it's built into my DNA. Like when I left the Mortgage Collaborative, I knew I was starting 2 companies. The plan was to wait a little bit on the consulting, and then I just found myself, I can't get away from the mortgage industry. It's, it is just too woven into my DNA. I talk to too many people on a regular basis about it. And so I'm really just driven by, a desire to be a part, I guess, of the solution. And now that I don't work for a company, I can do that, in my opinion, a little bit more effectively through what I feel is thought leadership. Others might not think it is, but, innovative ideas, obviously helping companies that I care about with my consulting business, helping mortgage lenders, community banks, credit unions that I got a lot of love in my heart for, just knowing them, help them grow market share. Like, it's so rewarding to me, honestly, to see good things happen to good people. And I feel incredibly fortunate to be in a position to work with people I love and companies I love to help them do that. And different companies, it's so super cool. And I did not know like what being a consultant would be like. I spent most of my career on my show at Chrisman making fun of them for about half a decade. But I love it. I think I'm okay at it too. It's been fun.
The good ones are worth every penny.
It is true. It is true. That is very true. I think a lot of companies just have the I'm never going to hire a consultant mindset, and it works for some. Some I would argue could benefit greatly. So
Well, I think that's a great answer. I know, running a business, it's so easy to be on the ground and in the weeds, and having someone who has that 20,000-foot view of the industry is super helpful because you don't know what you don't know, as you were saying before. And I think getting folks to help you with that, regardless of your position, your company's position in the industry, is something we can all benefit from.
I agree.
So, Rich, thank you so much for going on. This was a lot of fun. Told you this always goes by fast. So, appreciate you coming on Lending Leaders today. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Great. And everyone, thank you for listening today. Talk to you soon.